The Lions were back into familiar territory last weekend when they were catching 6.5 points at the Vikings. Detroit was favored against the Commanders for the first time in a long time back in week 2, but they covered the number. And Washington was one of the 2 winners for John Breech over the weekend, talking about Detroit, that is. Of the 3 L's, Tom Brady and the Bucs failed to cover the short spread against the Packers. All right, so let's recap week 3. 2-3 ATS. Again, Lions and Rams were the 2 hits. Misses on Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Tampa Bay, and the overall record coming into week 4, 6-9. Pick 6 pod, super friend John Breech joining us. So let's start with Browns and Falcons. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, you know what, Tom? You look at the Browns, they're 2-1, and if they didn't totally implode in week 2 against the Jets, this would be a 3-0 team. So they are pretty good. Now, granted, they might not have Myles Garrett playing this weekend, obviously, because he got in that car crash earlier this week. But even if Garrett is out, I feel pretty good about the Browns' chances, and I feel good because the Atlanta Falcons defense is giving up 4.8 yards per carry. You know what that means? Kevin Stefanski, don't overthink this one. Just give the ball to Nick Chubb, give the ball to Kareem Hunt, and keep doing that until the wheels fall off the offense's wagon. Just feed them, feed them, feed them. I think the Browns will be able to run all over Atlanta, and I like this tiny little point spread. I think the Browns are going to cover the 1.5.
All right, you feeling good about the Jags 2 weeks in a row? Similar spread, 6.5. They covered and won against the Chargers, but this time going up against the 3-0 Eagles.
Look, this is a Doug Peterson revenge game. You know what Doug Peterson probably did for the past year is sit at home plotting to get to a team where he could play the Eagles so he could beat them. I'm sure he's still not thrilled about being let go by them a couple years ago. So you have to think Peterson's going to throw the kitchen sink. He's going to throw every appliance in his house at the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's not forget, Jacksonville is for real. They shut out the Indianapolis Colts. They beat the Chargers by 28 points. They are throttling people. So this team has a lot of talent. Doug Peterson has figured out how to utilize it. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville pulls the upset, but if you're giving me 6.5 points, I will gladly take it. So I like the Jags in this spot.
I like that point differential graphic we just showed. That was kind of cool to see both teams there in the top 3. All right, this could be a decider for the division one day. Titans and Colts, a field goal the difference.
Yeah, I still don't know quite what to make of the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, they did win on Sunday, but this has been one of the worst offenses in the NFL. I know people make fun of the Broncos offense, but the Colts offense has scored the fewest points of any team in the NFL this year. They have not been able to do anything. Whereas you have the Titans, they were trying to adjust to life without A.J. Brown. Well, they started firing on all cylinders in week 3 against the Raiders. We saw them with multiple drives of more than 70 yards. Ryan Tannehill looks more comfortable with his new receivers. Derrick Henry out there averaging over 4 yards per carry, like the Derrick Henry of days past. And you know what? Mike Vrabel seems to have Frank Reich's number. The Titans have won 3 straight games in this series. So if you're going to make the Titans an underdog in a series where they've dominated, I am going to take them to cover.
All right, and then moving on to the Texans and Chargers. We talked about Los Angeles. Boy, they are banged up. They are hurt. They're losing pieces, and yet they're still laying 5 in this game. Are you grabbing points? Are you laying points in this situation?
Yeah, this seems like a big point spread considering the Chargers' injuries. I know we only have a certain amount of time for this segment, so I can't go through all of those injuries. But look, the big one is you lose Rashawn Slater at left tackle. That is not an injury you can afford when you have a quarterback who is playing with injured ribs. Plus, Joey Bosa might not be out there. Keenan Allen's banged up. J.C. Jackson's ankle won't heal. So there are just so many injuries. And then you have the plucky Texans who somehow, yeah, they're 0-2-1, but they cover the spread every week. They are 2-0-1. I think the Texans can keep this close. And so I like Houston to cover the 5.
All right, so then lastly, the question becomes, do you think the Patriots will keep the number close against the Packers? And what is the biggest point spread of our segment there? Green Bay laying 10.5.
I usually stay away from the double-digit point spreads, but this one is just too inviting. Look, we know Mac Jones is dealing with the high ankle sprain, so he almost certainly will not be out there on the field Sunday. So that leaves the Patriots with either Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zappi. So your choices are a quarterback who has lost 11 straight games in Hoyer, or a rookie quarterback who would be making his first career start at Lambeau Field. This just feels like a Packers blowout waiting to happen. The Packers are 8-1 against the spread at home since the start of last season. And so I really like Green Bay in the spot. I think they cover the 10.5.
All right, Breech, certainly appreciate it. Let's recap John's selections. 5 this week with an attempt to go 3-2, 4-1, maybe 5-0 again. Taking Cleveland, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Houston, and then laying that big number with Green Bay, 10.5 against what we think will probably be the Mac Jones-less Patriots. Pick Six Podcast, Will Brinson, Ryan Wilson, and Mr. Breech reacting to Week 3 of Monday Night Football. Make sure you scan the QR code and join the Pick'em contest.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.